My name is David Okoro, and if you had told me a year ago that a single act of kindness would turn my entire life upside down, I would have laughed. Because back then, everything in my world was falling apart piece by piece. I was a poor single dad, struggling to raise my 7-year-old daughter, Amara, after her mom left us without even a goodbye. My job as a delivery driver barely kept food in our fridge, and the bills stacked faster than I could breathe. But even with all that, I still believed in doing the right thing. I just didn't know the right thing would place me directly in front of the one woman who had the power to destroy my life or save it. It happened on a rainy Friday night, one of those nights where the sky looks bruised and angry. I had just finished my last delivery and was heading home to my daughter when I saw a silver SUV parked at the side of the road. Hazards blinking, smoke rising from the hood, and beside it stood a woman drenched from head to toe, waving helplessly. Something in me said, "Don't stop, David. Mind your business." But another part, the part that remembered how many times I had been stranded with no one to help, refused to drive past. So I stopped. I stepped out of my beat-up Toyota, gripping my jacket tighter as the rain slapped my face. The woman turned to me with relief flooding her eyes. "Thank God. Please, can you help me?" she asked. She looked expensive, neat, classy, elegant even with her hair soaked. But the panic in her voice? That was real. "I'll try," I said. "Pop the hood." I didn't know then. I didn't know that the woman whose car I was fixing in the rain was the Honorable Judge Evelyn Marshall, the same strict judge presiding over the case that could take my daughter away from me forever. And I didn't know that helping her would lead to secrets, betrayal, danger, and a revenge twist so unexpected that even now, retelling it makes my heart race. This is how it all began. The rain fell like someone had opened the gates of heaven in anger. Cold, heavy, punishing drops, the kind that soak through your clothes and bones in seconds. But none of that mattered when I saw the woman trembling beside her car. I approached slowly, cautious. Lagos nights could be unpredictable, sometimes dangerous, but everything about her looked genuine. The fear in her eyes, the shivering hands, the way she hugged herself tightly. "My battery is dead, I think, or maybe the engine overheated. I don't know," she said, voice shaking. "It's okay," I told her. "Let me take a look." I leaned into the engine compartment, and the steam nearly burned my face. This wasn't just an overheated engine. Something inside had blown. "You can't drive this tonight," I said. Her face dropped. "But I have somewhere very important to be. Is there any way?" And that's when the thunder cracked so loudly she jumped. I stepped back. "Look, it's dangerous out here. Do you have anyone you can call?" She hesitated. "I've been trying, but no one is picking up." It was strange. A woman like her, expensive jewelry, perfectly tailored suit, yet no one to call? For a moment, she looked so lost that my heart ached. Maybe because I knew exactly what that felt like. I sighed. "I can drop you wherever you need to go. My daughter is waiting at home, but she'll understand." "You do that for a stranger?" she asked softly. "Someone once helped me when I needed it most," I said. "I'm just returning the favor." She stared at me with an expression I couldn't read, something between gratitude and disbelief. "Thank you, truly," she whispered. As we walked toward my old Toyota, she paused suddenly. "You didn't even ask my name." I smiled. Names don't matter when someone needs help. But oh, how wrong I was. Because minutes later, when she finally introduced herself inside my car, calmly, politely, as though it was nothing, I felt every drop of blood drain from my face. "I'm Evelyn Marshall," she said. "Judge Evelyn Marshall." My heart stopped. That name. The judge handling the custody hearing between me and my ex, the one who could decide whether Morris stayed with me or got ripped from my arms. My fingers tightened on the steering wheel. All the warmth in my body evaporated. She noticed. "Are you okay?" I forced a smile. Yeah, I'm fine." But inside, panic twisted like a knife. Was this fate or a trap? Why was she alone in the rain? Why no driver? Why no security? Why no one answering her calls? Something didn't add up. As I drove her through the storm, her phone kept buzzing, not with calls, but with messages. Short, urgent ones she quickly hid. I pretended not to notice, but my instinct screamed. This woman wasn't just stranded. She was running from something. And somehow, I had just driven straight into the middle of it. The wipers slashed back and forth, struggling against the rain as I drove Judge Evelyn Marshall through the flooded streets. My heartbeat hadn't slowed since she said her name. Every second with her in my car felt unreal, like I was trapped in a dream that could turn into a nightmare at any moment. She sat upright, stiff, her eyes glued to the passing darkness outside. Occasionally, flashes of lightning illuminated her face, revealing something I didn't expect from a powerful judge. Fear. Real fear. I cleared my throat. "So, where exactly am I dropping you?" She pressed her lips together. "Somewhere safe." Somewhere safe? That was not a normal answer. Not for someone of her status. Not for a woman who should have drivers, police escorts, or at least a functioning emergency service number. "Is everything all right?" I asked. She hesitated, then forced a tight smile. "Just a long day." But her hands, they wouldn't stop shaking. And the messages on her phone kept coming, one after the other, vibrating through the quiet car like a countdown. Finally, curiosity got the best of me. "Do you need help?" I asked gently, like real help. Her eyes met mine in a quick, startled glance, almost as if I'd read her mind. But before she could answer, her phone lit up again. This time, she didn't hide it quickly enough. The message preview flashed clearly. "Evelyn, you can't run forever. Choose wisely." She locked the phone so fast I pretended not to see it. But my stomach dropped. Run? From who? Why? And why did I suddenly feel like helping her might drag me into something bigger than both of us? "I'm sorry about the messages," she said quietly. "Work matters." Work matters don't sound like threats. "Judge, if someone is after you." "Please," she cut in sharply. "Just call me Evelyn." That threw me off. Judges didn't like being informal. Especially not with people like me, broke delivery drivers trying to keep custody of their kids. "Okay, Evelyn," I said slowly. "Are you in danger?" Instead of answering, she stared at her hands that kept twisting and untwisting the edge of her soaked sleeve. "I just need to get somewhere safe," she repeated. My protective instinct kicked in before fear had a chance to stop it. "I can help," I told her. She gave a weak laugh. "You don't even know me." "Maybe not," I said, "but I know what it's like to be trapped." Something shifted in her eyes, recognition. Like she understood exactly what I meant. "Turn left here," she said suddenly. I obeyed, driving into a quieter part of town. One streetlight flickered, fighting against the storm. The area looked abandoned, shops locked, windows dark, the kind of place where secrets can hide. "You sure this is where you want to be?" I asked. "Yes." But her voice trembled. I parked beside a closed pharmacy. The rain thundered on the roof as she reached for the door handle, then stopped. "David," she said softly. Hearing her say my name startled me. "Yes." She took a shaky breath. "What you did tonight, stopping to help me, no one else did. You didn't even know who I was." "That's why I did it," I said. "If I knew, maybe I would have driven off." She chuckled weakly, but her eyes were sad. "I'm sorry about your custody case," she whispered. "I'm not allowed to talk about it. But I've read everything. All of it." My chest tightened. "Then, do you already know what you're going to decide?" She didn't answer, but the silence was louder than thunder. I swallowed hard. "Judge, sorry, Evelyn, please. I am all my daughter has. Her mother, she left. If—" She raised a trembling hand. "David, I can't discuss the case. My job, my life, requires neutrality." Neutrality. That word stabbed deeper than a knife. To a poor man fighting a rich ex-wife, neutral wasn't neutral. It meant I was already losing. She opened the door, but before stepping out, she leaned in slightly. "David, be careful." A cold shiver ran down my spine. "Why?" She looked over her shoulder into the darkness, scanning the street like someone expecting danger to leap out at any moment. "Because anyone connected to me right now." Her voice dropped to a whisper. "Isn't safe." She closed the door gently and dashed into the storm, disappearing behind the pharmacy. I sat frozen. Was I just threatened indirectly? Was she being watched? Was someone coming after her? And now, after me? A flash of lightning revealed a car parked 2 streets away, dark, barely visible, headlights off but pointed straight at me. Someone was inside, staring. My heart raced. "No, no, no," I whispered. I started the engine immediately, because everything inside me screamed the same warning Evelyn had tried to give me. I was already in danger, and I had no idea why. The rain hadn't stopped. It was coming down harder, hammering the windshield like fists as I pulled away from the pharmacy. But even the storm couldn't drown out the fear rising in my chest. I kept glancing at my rear-view mirror. That dark car, the one parked 2 streets away, it wasn't moving. It wasn't flashing lights. It wasn't rolling down windows. Just sitting there, watching. My fingers tightened around the steering wheel. I tried to stay calm, but every instinct in my body screamed, "You are not alone tonight." I accelerated slightly, the tires slicing through puddles. The road was nearly empty. Most people had the sense to be indoors on a night like this. "Relax, David," I muttered to myself. "You're imagining things. It's just a car." But then the headlights flicked on. My breath caught in my throat. No. The engine revved, loud, deep, powerful, the kind that belonged to men who didn't care about being subtle. The car eased out of the shadows and pulled into the same road I was on, following me, not speeding, not chasing, just mirroring my pace. I swallowed hard. Okay. I made a right turn. It made the same right turn. A cold sweat broke out across my neck. I tried again, left this time. The car followed. Same distance, same speed. The fear hit me in waves. Not because of myself, but because of Amora. My little girl was at home waiting for me. If this car belonged to whoever was threatening Evelyn? What if they followed me home? What if they put her in danger too? No way, I whispered. Not my child. Never. I needed to lose this car before I went anywhere near my daughter. I pressed my foot down on the accelerator. My old Toyota shuddered like it was begging me not to push it, but I didn't have a choice. The engine groaned, and the speedometer climbed. 40, 50, 60. My heartbeat matched the numbers. The dark car kept coming. No hesitation. No struggle. Just effortless pursuit. Whoever they were trained, controlled, dangerous. The road ahead split into two, the main expressway and a narrow service street. At the last second, I swerved into the service street. My tires screeched. The dark car turned too. No delay, no confusion. Jesus, I breathed. Why me? Why tonight? I didn't know much about Evelyn's problem, but the message on her phone replayed in my head. You can't run forever. Choose wisely. Who sends a message like that to a judge? Someone ruthless. Someone powerful. Someone who didn't care about the law. And now, someone following a poor single father in the middle of a storm. The service street ended abruptly at a T-junction. I braked hard and turned again, desperate for escape routes. Buildings blowed by. Streetlights flickered. My hands shook on the wheel. Then I remembered something, a trick I learned from a taxi driver years ago. At the next junction, I turned off my headlights. Instant darkness. I took a sharp right and slid into the narrow driveway of an abandoned warehouse. My heart pounded as I cut the engine and lowered myself in the seat, trying to make my car invisible in the shadows. The rain roared against the roof like thousands of drums. I turned off my phone brightness and peeked through the crack of the window. 5 seconds passed. 10. 20. Nothing. Then, a pair of headlights swept across the junction, slow, deliberate. The dark car rolled past, hesitated, and kept going. I exhaled shakily. That was close, too close. I waited another full minute before starting the engine again. Careful, slow, silent. This time, I took the longest route home, checking every corner, every mirror, every shadow. By the time I reached my street, my nerves felt like broken wires. My legs shook as I stepped out of the car. But the moment I opened the door, a small voice pierced my exhaustion. Daddy! Amora ran into my arms, her little hands cold from waiting near the window. I hugged her tight, tighter than usual, maybe tighter than I should have. I'm here, I whispered. Daddy's here. She pulled back and frowned. Why are you shaking? I'm just cold, baby. That was a lie. I wasn't cold. I was terrified. Because right behind my fear stood a bigger question. What did I get myself involved in? I tucked her into bed, double-locked every door, and checked every window. Only when she fell asleep did I sit on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone. Should I call Evelyn? Ask if she made it to wherever she was going? Ask who was threatening her? Tell her someone followed me? I typed a message. Did you get home safe? But before I could hit send, my phone buzzed. A new message from an unknown number. Stay away from Evelyn Marshall if you love your daughter. My stomach dropped. I froze. Every muscle in my body tightened. My biggest fear had just arrived, clearly, silently, dangerously. Someone knew who I was. Someone knew I had a daughter. Someone knew I helped her. And someone wanted me gone. I stayed at the message, my hands trembling. This wasn't about helping a stranded woman anymore. This was war. I stared at the message like it was a knife pressed against my throat. Stay away from Evelyn Marshall if you love your daughter. My first instinct was denial. No, this can't be real. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe someone typed the wrong number. But deep down, beneath the fear, beneath the racing heartbeat, I knew the truth. That message wasn't a warning. It was a threat, a real one. Because no random stranger knew I'd helped Evelyn tonight. No random stranger knew about my daughter. No random stranger followed me through the streets of Lagos. My mind went straight to Amara. I leapt to my feet, nearly tripping as I rushed to her room. She lay peacefully under her pink blanket, her chest rising and falling in a soft rhythm. Her small hand curled around her teddy bear. My world, my life, my everything. I pulled the blanket higher around her, checking the window twice, then 3 times. Only when I was sure the locks were secure did I step back. My phone buzzed again. Not another threat. This time, it was a call. Unknown number. My stomach twisted. Every instinct said, "Don't pick up." But I couldn't ignore it. Not tonight. I answered. "Hello?" My voice came out low, cautious, almost trembling. A calm male voice spoke. Too calm. "Mr. Okoro." My knees nearly buckled. "Who's this?" "You don't need to know who I am. You only need to know what to do." I gripped the phone harder, anger mixing with fear. "If you come near my daughter—" "Relax," the man said softly. "No one's touching the child. As long as you behave." My jaw clenched. "What do you want?" "Simple. Stay away from Judge Marshall. Never speak to her again. Never meet her again. Forget tonight ever happened." "And if I don't?" There was a short pause, then a soft exhale. "Single fathers like you don't have much to lose except the one thing that matters most. Don't let pride blind you." A shiver ran down my spine. "Why are you after her?" I asked. "What did she do?" He chuckled. Quiet, chilling. "You're asking the wrong questions, Mr. Okoro. Ask yourself, what will you risk for a woman you barely know?" My pulse thudded in my ears. "You think you're doing the right thing," he continued. "But you're not part of this. You're a liability. Remove yourself before you become collateral damage." Then the line went silent. No click, no tone, just dead air. I lowered the phone slowly, my breath shaking. Collateral damage. That's what I was to them. And worse. They saw my daughter as leverage. A wave of rage surged through me, hot, sharp, burning under my skin. Fear wanted me to run. Instinct wanted me to hide. But the father in me, the man who had fought to keep his daughter against all odds, the man who had sacrificed sleep, money, pride, everything, that man refused to be intimidated. I wasn't rich. I wasn't powerful. But I wasn't weak. Not when it came to protecting my child. I walked back to the living room and sat, thinking hard. Who was Evelyn running from? Why was she alone in the rain? Why was she scared? Why were they watching her? And most importantly, why did helping her suddenly put me and my daughter in danger? My heartbeat slowed as a plan began forming. Not fully, not perfectly, but enough to keep me from drowning in fear. I couldn't confront anyone yet. I couldn't run to the police. Threats like this needed proof. I couldn't involve Evelyn. She had her own battles and she was already being hunted. But there was something I could do. I checked the windows again, closed every curtain, moved a chair under the main door handle, turned on the outside light. Then I sat with my phone in my hand, typing a single message. Not to the unknown number. Not to anyone threatening me. To Evelyn. I typed, "We need to talk. Someone came after me, and they know about my daughter." But I didn't send it. Not yet. I stayed at the message for a long time, because sending it meant stepping deeper into her world, a world that already followed me through dark streets and threatened my family. But keeping quiet, pretending nothing was happening, that could get us killed. My phone vibrated suddenly, startling me. Not a message, a voicemail. From Evelyn. Hands trembling, I pressed play. Her voice came through, shaky, rushed, terrified. "David, if you're getting this, please listen. Don't tell anyone you saw me. Don't contact me. Don't go looking for me. Please. You don't know what's happening. You don't know what they're capable of. I'm trying to fix this. Just stay safe. For your daughter. I'm sorry." The message ended abruptly, cut off by something in the background. A bang. A shout. Footsteps. Then silence. I stood frozen. Heart pounding. Blood roaring. Breath stuck in my throat. Evelyn wasn't safe. And whatever was happening, it was getting worse. I lowered the phone with a decision hardening inside me like stone. I wasn't staying out of it. Not anymore. I had stumbled into someone else's war. But now it was personal. Because protecting my daughter wasn't running away. It was finding the people threatening her and ending it once and for all. And I didn't care who they were. Judge, criminal, politician, gang. They picked the wrong single dad. I didn't sleep that night. Every small sound, the wind rattling the windows, a car passing in the distance, the fridge humming, felt like danger creeping closer. My daughter slept peacefully, unaware of the storm outside our home and the far darker storm pulling me in. By morning, I had made one decision. I needed answers, and there was only one place to get them, the courthouse. I knew Evelyn wouldn't be there. Not after that voicemail. But the courthouse was her territory, her world, her battlefield. Somewhere in those halls, documents, whispers, or even a single wrong expression could tell me who was after her and now after me. I left tomorrow with my neighbor, Maman Ketchy, a kind woman who owed me a favor for fixing her generator last month. "Why your face be like this?" she asked. "You never sleep." "I'm fine," I lied. "Just work." She gave me a suspicious look but didn't press further. By 8:20 a.m., I walked up the courthouse steps. The morning sun made the white marble building look pure, clean, honorable. But I knew better. Inside those walls, justice wasn't always just. Some men wore suits but carried secrets darker than their robes. As I stepped through the metal detector, a strange tightness clenched my chest. Something felt wrong. Even the officers at the entrance seemed tense, eyes darting, whispering among themselves. I moved down the main hallway, pretending to blend in with lawyers, clerks, and cleaners. But my mind was on one thing. Evelyn's voicemail. That fear wasn't fake. Someone had been with her, or after her, when she recorded it. I reached her courtroom, Courtroom 4. Empty. The lights were off. The echo of my footsteps sounded too loud. The nameplate beside the door read, Honorable Justice E. Marshall. Court cancelled for today. My stomach dropped. Cancelled? Evelyn never cancelled. Everyone knew that. She was the type who'd show up to court with a fever and still finish her cases. I looked around carefully, making sure no one was watching, then approached the court clerk's desk nearby. A woman in her late 50s sat there, sorting papers. She looked tired, irritated, overworked. "Morning, Ma," I greeted. She barely looked up. "Court is cancelled. Check the board." "Yes, Ma, I saw. I just wanted to ask." Before I could finish, she leaned forward, lowering her voice. "If you are here about the judge, don't ask too many questions." My skin prickled. "What happened?" I whispered. Her eyes darted around the hallway to make sure no one was listening. "All I can say is, something is wrong." She arrived yesterday afternoon with police escorts, looking nervous. That has never happened before. "Police escorts?" I repeated. "Yes," she whispered. "And that evening, around closing, some men were looking for her. Not policemen, not lawyers, men I didn't recognize." My pulse quickened. "What kind of men?" She hesitated, wrestling with whether to speak. I leaned closer. "Please, my daughter's safety depends on this." Her eyes softened slightly. Maybe she saw the desperation. Maybe she recognized a parent in distress. "They were not ordinary men," she finally said. "4 of them. Suits. No badges. No names. And the chief registrar told me not to interfere. He took them into a private office." My breath caught. Chief registrar? Private office? Unknown men? This was bigger than a jealous enemy or angry criminal. "Where's the chief registrar now?" I asked. "Not here," she whispered. "He called in sick this morning. First time in 10 years. Everything inside me tightened. "I'm telling you," she said, "just go home. Leave this matter. People who push into problems like this, they don't always come back." "I don't have a choice," I said quietly. She sighed. "At least then go see Officer Danjuma at the security desk by the back entrance. He was on duty last night. Maybe he saw something." "Thank you," I said, stepping back. "Be careful," she murmured. "Courthouses have shadows, darker than prisons." Those words stuck with me as I walked down the hallway. The back entrance security post was quieter. 2 officers sat inside the small booth, one dozing off, the other filling out a form. The awake officer looked middle-aged with strong features and tired eyes. "Officer Danjuma?" I asked. He raised an eyebrow. "Yes? Who are you?" "My name is David Okoro. I came to ask about." Before I could finish, recognition flashed in his eyes. "The judge. How did you know?" He exhaled sharply, leaning back. "Because you're not the first person looking for her this morning." My stomach dropped. "Who else?" He hesitated. "I'm not supposed to talk." But I didn't back down. "Officer, whoever is hunting her threatened my daughter. I need to know what's going on." His jaw tightened. He glanced at the sleeping officer, then motioned for me to follow him outside toward the shaded corner of the courtyard. Once we were alone, he spoke in a low tone. "Yesterday evening, I saw the judge leave through the back exit. She didn't look like herself. She was scared, looking over her shoulder constantly. Was she with anyone?" I asked. "Yes, a young female officer. New recruit. About 24. She was assigned as temporary protection." "Protection from who?" Officer Danjuma rubbed his forehead. "I don't know. But I do know this. Minutes after they left, a black SUV arrived." My heart skipped. "Black SUV?" I asked quietly. "Yes," he said, nodding slowly. "Tinted windows. No plates." My blood turned to ice. The same type of car that followed me. What happened? I whispered. They came asking questions. About the judge. About her schedule. And they weren't police. Weren't security. Weren't court staff. What did you tell them? I told them nothing, he said firmly. But they didn't leave. They circled the building. Twice. I felt the fear I'd buried earlier return, rising slowly, painfully. What do they want with her? I asked. Officer Danjum's eyes hardened. Judge Marshall has been handling a very sensitive case secretly, one involving people with serious power. If she rules the wrong way, some men will lose everything. And they are willing to destroy her. I asked. Not just her, he said grimly. Anyone connected to her. My breath froze. Connected to her. Me. My daughter. So what do? I asked quietly. He looked at me with a mixture of pity and warning. You walk away. I can't. Then brace yourself, he said, because once you step into this matter, there is no turning back. I stood there trembling slightly, not from fear, but from realization. This was no longer about helping a stranded woman. This was a trap, a power struggle, a war, and now I was tangled in the center of it. Officer Danjuma took a small step closer, lowering his voice to a whisper. There's something else, he said, something I shouldn't tell you. My chest tightened. What? Late last night, a report came in. He paused, checking the hallway again. A police car was found abandoned near the swamp road. Doors open. Lights off. My heartbeat hammered. And the officer assigned to Judge Marshall. His voice dropped, was nowhere to be found. Silence. Cold. Heavy. Terrifying. The fear I'd been fighting all night finally swallowed me whole. Evelyn didn't just disappear. Someone had taken her, and whoever took her was now watching me. I don't know what it feels like to have your heart ripped out twice in one lifetime, but that day, standing outside the courthouses back in trance, I came close. I had just walked out of the courtroom, my freedom technically restored, but my dignity, it was hanging by threads. And the person holding those threads was the same woman I once rescued with my last umbrella under the storm, Judge Marion Cole. My daughter Zoe squeezed my hand as we reached the parking lot. Daddy, are you okay? I forced a smile. Yeah, baby, Daddy's okay. But I wasn't. Not after learning the truth. Judge Cole hadn't just been some stranded woman on a lonely highway. She had been investigating me long before I met her. Someone had told her I had stolen those construction tools, someone who wanted me destroyed. And she believed it, even when I helped her without hesitation. The betrayal sat in my chest like a stone. I lifted Zoe into the passenger seat of our old car, but before I shut her door, I heard a voice behind me. Daniel, please wait. I froze. Judge Marion stood there, still in her black robe, makeup smeared slightly from the emotional verdict she'd just given. But that wasn't why I froze. It was the brown envelope she held, and the look in her eyes. A look I had never seen before. Regret. Why did you do it? I asked. For the first time, she looked genuinely unsure. I didn't trust you, Daniel. I thought that I was a criminal. My tone came out sharper than I intended. I thought you were hiding something, she whispered. I let out a bitter laugh. Judge, if I had a secret, you're the last person I'd trust with it. She inhaled, steadying herself. That's why I need you to look inside this. She held out the brown envelope. I didn't take it. Daniel, she continued softly, you deserve to know who's been feeding my office lies about you. Every accusation, every anonymous complaint, every attempt to pull your custody rights. My chest tightened. This envelope, she said, contains the truth. But before you open it, hear me. I made mistakes. Serious ones. That night on the highway, you helped me without knowing my name. You didn't judge me, and I judged you without even meeting you. Her voice broke. I owe you justice, and maybe a chance to clear your name. I swallowed hard. Why now? Because, she whispered, someone wanted you gone, and I almost let them win. She pressed the envelope into my hand. I drove home with trembling fingers. The whole way home, Zoe kicked her tiny legs happily, showing me drawings she made in school. But I couldn't focus. Not on colors, not on laughter, not even on her telling me she won Best Smile of the Week. My mind was on that envelope. The moment we got home and she started watching cartoons, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at it like it was a bomb. I opened it. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, reports, and a name. A name that made my blood run cold. A name I never wanted to see again. Leonard Baxter, my former boss. The same man who fired me because I wouldn't lie about missing materials on his construction site. The same man who threatened to make sure I wouldn't work in that city again. The same man who texted me after he fired me. A single dad like you should know better than to cross me. The room spun. That man had filed anonymous complaints to the judge. He had lied about my character. He had tried to get Zoe taken from me. He had wanted me destroyed. My hands shook as the papers slipped from my fingers and scattered on the floor. I felt something boiling inside me. Not fear, not sadness, not even humiliation. Something sharper, something hot. Revenge. Then my phone buzzed. It was Judge Marion. I hesitated before answering, but something told me I had to. Daniel, are you home? Yes. Did you see the name? Yes. A long silence. That man, she began. I know who he is. I cut in. And I know what he did. Her voice tightened. Daniel, listen to me. He didn't just lie about you. He forged documents. That's a criminal offense. And I may have been strict with you, but I won't let an innocent man carry a stain someone else created. I stared at the scattered papers on the floor. What do you want from me, Judge? I asked quietly. I want you to come back to the courthouse tomorrow, she said. Not as a defendant. Then as what? Her answer stunned me. A witness in a case I'm opening myself. We're going after him. For everything. My heart pounded. And Daniel. Yes. Her tone softened into something unexpectedly gentle. You're not alone in this fight anymore. That night, I sat by Zoe's bed. Her small hand rested on my knee as she dozed off, mumbling something about chocolate pancakes. I brushed her hair back. I'll fix this, I whispered. Daddy's not giving up. But deep inside, it wasn't just about clearing my name anymore. Someone tried to take my daughter away from me. Someone tried to crush everything I built. And now, I had evidence, powerful evidence, and an unexpected ally. This wasn't just justice. This was the beginning of payback. The kind that shakes a whole city. The kind no one forgets. Judge Marion wasn't lying when she said the fight wasn't mine alone anymore. The next morning, when I walked into the courthouse, I wasn't wearing fear. I wasn't wearing shame. I wasn't wearing the invisible chains of accusations I never deserved. I walked in with purpose, and for the first time since everything began, I felt like a man who might finally win. Judge Marion wasn't in her robe when she met me in her chambers. She wore a simple navy blue blouse, hair tied up in a bun, no makeup, just a face that looked like it hadn't slept all night. "Daniel," she nodded, gesturing for me to sit. "I've been preparing the case." I sat today. My palms were sweating. She slid a thick file across the table. "Before we begin, you need to understand something. Leonard Baxter isn't just any construction manager. He has connections, money, friends in places where favors can disappear evidence." I swallowed hard. "I know. That's why he went after me." She leaned forward. "Exactly. He chose you because you're a poor single dad, vulnerable, easy to discredit, easy to crush. You were never his real target, Daniel. You were his example." My jaw clenched. Zoe's innocent face flashed through my mind. "So what do we do?" I asked. She smiled, but not a warm smile. A strategic one. "We set a trap." The plan. Judge Marion laid it out carefully. Leonard would be summoned for questioning after a new report surfaced about missing materials from his company. He would assume the complaint came from someone inside his firm, not me. He would panic, because this time there would be real evidence tied to him. And when he panicked, he would make a mistake Marion could legally strike with. But that wasn't the real trap. No, the real trap was something else entirely. "Daniel," she said, sliding her glasses on, "I need you to record a conversation with him." My heart stopped. "Record what?" "The truth," she replied. "The threats, the blackmail, the lies. If he admits even one thing on tape, he crumbles." I felt the heaviness of the moment. My breathing grew uneven. "Judge, if he realizes I'm working with you—" "He won't," she said firmly, "because we'll stage it." "Stage what?" "A fake message," she explained, "that your custody hearing is being reopened. He'll think he won. He'll think you're vulnerable. And he'll come after you again, confident, sloppy." I stared at her. "You're risking your own position to help me," I said quietly. She met my eyes. "I'm making things right." The call. Later that afternoon, Judge Marion sent the fake notification to Leonard through an anonymous channel. "A custody re-evaluation for Daniel Cole has been filed. Petition accepted." We didn't have to wait long. My phone rang 2 hours later. Leonard Baxter. The name lit up like poison. I answered. Well. His voice oozed satisfaction. "Looks like the little single dad is back where he belongs." I didn't speak. "Not yet. You thought you could fight me?" "Me?" He laughed. "You must be stupid, Daniel. You forgot who runs this city." My chest tightened, but I kept my voice calm, shaky on purpose. "What do you want, Leonard?" "What I always wanted," he hissed, "for you to learn your place. And maybe this time I'll make sure they take that child from you." My blood boiled. I bit my tongue so hard I tasted metal. He continued, "Meet me at the old crane yard tonight. We're going to finish this. And Daniel." "Yes." "Come alone." The call ended. I looked at Judge Marion, who stood silently in the corner of my small living room. She had insisted on being present when the call came. She exhaled slowly. He took the bait. The meeting. The old crane yard was exactly how I remembered it, rusted. Metal, broken glass, wind whistling through the abandoned machinery. Judge Marion stayed hidden in her car down the road, watching. I walked into the yard alone, hands slightly trembling, recorder disguised as a button on my shirt. Then I heard footsteps behind me. Leonard emerged from the shadows in a crisp suit, smirking like he owned the earth I stood on. "Well, Daniel," he sneered, "you've caused me enough trouble." I forced fear into my tone. "It wasn't hard. What do you want from me?" "Oh, nothing much," he said, stepping closer. "Just a simple confession from you. Sign a statement admitting you stole materials, that you lied in court, that you're unfit to raise a child." My heart dropped. He wasn't just trying to ruin me. He wanted to bury me. "And if I don't?" I asked. Leonard leaned in, his voice dropping to a chilling whisper. "Then I'll bury you myself, like I buried your career, like I buried every lie I used to destroy you." He laughed. "And nobody will stop me, not even that judge you're so friendly with. I've owned her type for years." That was it. The confession, the arrogance, the threat. Everything Judge Marion needed. But Leonard wasn't done. He grabbed my shirt collar. "Hard. You think you matter?" he snarled. "You're a nobody. A poor, pathetic widower with a kid who's probably better off without you." Something inside me snapped. For the first time, I didn't feel fear. I felt fire. I shoved his hand away. "No, Leonard," I said, my voice shaking with rage. "I'm a father, and I'm done letting you hurt us." He recoiled, stunned. Then, a bright white light flooded the yard. Headlights, followed by Leonard Baxter. "Step away from him." Judge Marion's voice thundered across the metal yard. Leonard spun around, stunned. Behind her, two officers step out of the car, badges raised. What is this?" he shouted. "Justice," Marion answered coldly. "Your justice." The officers grabbed him. He struggled, screaming. "You think you can do this to me? I run this city. I'll destroy you all." Marion stepped forward, calm and unshaken. "No, Leonard, you're done destroying people." Leonard was cuffed, furious, helpless, and for the first time in years, I felt air in my lungs again. Judge Marion walked up to me. "Daniel," she said softly, touching my shoulder, "you did incredibly well." I exhaled shakily. Is it over?" She smiled. "It's just beginning. For the first time." She paused. "You're going to win." I never thought a courtroom would feel like a place of hope. For months, that building had been a symbol of everything I feared: judgment, humiliation, and the possibility of losing the only thing that mattered in my life, my daughter, Zoe. But on the morning of Leonard Baxter's court hearing, the atmosphere felt different, sharper, charged, almost like the universe itself was holding its breath. Judge Marion didn't preside over this case. That would have been a conflict of interest. Instead, she moved quietly through the hallways, coordinating with prosecutors, reviewing evidence, and making sure no one tampered with what we gathered. But when she spotted me and Zoe in the hallway, she paused. "Daniel," she said softly, "this is the day everything changes." I nodded, squeezing Zoe's tiny hand. She clutched her teddy bear like a lawyer clutching evidence. "Daddy," she whispered, "is the bad man going to jail today?" I bent down, brushing her cheek. "I don't know yet, baby. But Daddy's going to tell the truth. And the truth is strong." She nodded bravely, even though I could see her lower lip trembling. "Enter Leonard, the fallen king." When they dragged Leonard in, it was like watching a giant who suddenly realized he wasn't indestructible. Gone was the fancy suit. Gone was the smug smirk. Gone was the confidence of a man who believed he controlled the world. He wore handcuffs, real ones, and for the first time, he looked small. But when his eyes landed on me, that old fire returned. "You set me up, Daniel," he hissed as the officers seated him. "You think this is over? I'll—" The officer pushed him down. "Enough." But Leonard wasn't the only one staring. His lawyer, a sleek man in a gray suit, studied me with cold calculation. I could tell this wasn't going to be easy. The prosecution begins. Leonard was charged with evidence fabrication, filing false reports, attempted coercion, harassment, and obstruction of justice. But the strongest blow came from the recording I'd made. The courtroom listened in silence as Leonard's own voice echoed. "I'll bury you myself, like I buried your career, like I buried every lie I used to destroy you." Zoe flinched at the words. I pulled her closer. Leonard's lawyer objected, claiming the recording was entrapment, emotional manipulation, and even fabricated. But Judge Rowan, the calm, stern man presiding, was smarter than that. "I've reviewed the audio authenticity report," he said, "and it is 100% genuine." Boom. Leonard's face drained of color. My turn to testify. When they called my name, my knees nearly buckled. I walked up to the witness stand slowly, feeling every eye in the room on me. Zoe waved her teddy bear at me for strength. I took a breath and began. I told them everything. How Leonard fired me for refusing to lie. How he blackmailed me emotionally. How he launched a campaign to destroy my reputation. How he filed anonymous complaints to strip me of custody. How he threatened me in the crane yard. Each word felt like a wound reopening. Each sentence felt like a weight lifting. At one point, my voice cracked, especially when I talked about Zoe. "She's all I have," I whispered. He wanted to take her from me, to teach me a lesson. A child shouldn't be a weapon. Someone sniffed loudly in the gallery. Even Judge Rowan blinked twice. When I finished, I felt empty. But lighter. Finally lighter. Leonard's turn. His last attempt to win. Leonard insisted on testifying. Of course he did. He stood up, smoothed his hair, and tried to look innocent. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began dramatically, "this is a man who resents success. A man who—" Judge Rowan cut him off. "Stick to the facts, Mr. Baxter." He swallowed. Then he made his big mistake. He lashed out. At me. At the system. At Judge Marion, even though she wasn't presiding. This whole setup was engineered by an emotional judge with a personal grudge. And this single dad. He pointed at me as if I were dirt. "Is nothing. He's just trying to ruin me because he couldn't handle the job." You could hear a pin drop. Then Judge Rowan leaned forward. "Mr. Baxter, with that statement, you just revealed intent, pattern, malice, and motivation. I advise your lawyer to tell you to stop talking." Leonard's lawyer facepalmed, but Leonard kept going, and digging his own grave deeper. By the time he finished, he had confirmed half the accusations without realizing it. The verdict: the city holds its breath. Court recess. 30 minutes. I sat on the bench holding Zoe while she slept in my arms. Every tick of the clock felt like the universe counting my fate. My chest was tight. My hands were cold. Judge Marion sat beside me quietly. "Whatever happens," she said softly, "you've already won. You stood up to a man who spent years trying to crush you, and you did it with courage. Her words steadied me. Then the courtroom doors opened. Everyone filed back inside. My heart pounded as Judge Rowan lifted the verdict slip. On the charges brought before this court. The room froze. The defendant, Leonard Baxter, is found. Zoe sat up, eyes wide. I squeezed her hand. She squeezed back. Guilty on all counts. The room exploded. People gasped. Some cheered quietly. Others shook their heads in disbelief. Leonard's face twisted with rage, pure, desperate rage. "You'll regret this, Daniel," he screamed as officers dragged him away. "You'll—" The doors slammed shut before he could finish. And suddenly, the world felt quiet, safe, free. After the verdict, I stepped outside the courthouse with Zoe asleep on my shoulder again. The sunlight felt different, warmer, cleaner, softer. For the first time, I felt like a man who wasn't drowning anymore. Judge Marion walked up to me gently. "It's over," she said. I shook my head. "No," I whispered. "It's just the beginning." She smiled. "Then let's begin." I thought winning the case would be the end of everything, the final chapter in my long nightmare. I was wrong. It was only the end of the darkness, the beginning of something I never imagined was waiting for me, something bigger than revenge, something like restoration, something like finally breathing again. The crowd outside. When I stepped out of the courthouse holding Zoe, I expected the parking lot to be empty. Instead, there were people, dozens, reporters, community members, even workers from Leonard's old job site. Cameras flashed, microphones lifted. "Daniel, how does it feel to finally clear your name? Is it true Leonard tried to destroy your custody rights? What's next for you and your daughter? How did it feel when the verdict was read?" I froze. Me? A man who barely survived life's storms? A poor dad who almost lost everything? Why were they cheering for me? Zoe buried her face in my shoulder. I rubbed her back to calm her. Before I could answer anyone, Judge Marion stepped between us and the crowd. "That's enough for today," she said firmly. "Mr. Cole needs peace." She guided me through the reporters like a shield. When we reached my car, I exhaled shakily. Why were they all out there? I whispered. Marion turned to me with a calm but serious expression. "Because your story matters. People need to know the truth about what Leonard did, and what you survived. And Daniel." She paused. "You didn't just win your case. You changed the system today." I blinked hard. Me? Change something? I barely kept my head above water most days. But the way she said it, I felt it deep. A letter that shook me. That night, after putting Zoe to bed, I sat at the small dining table, replaying everything in my mind. My name was cleared. Zoe was safe. Leonard was in jail. But I still felt unsettled, like the universe had one more thing to tell me. Then, knock, knock. I opened the door slowly. A court officer stood there with a sealed envelope. "For Daniel Cole," he said, "ordered to be delivered tonight." My heartbeat quickened. I sat down, slid my finger under the seal, and opened it. One glance, and my hands began to shake. Inside was an official letter. Notice of compensation award. The state was granting me full damages for wrongful accusations, compensation for emotional distress, lost wages from the years Leonard sabotaged my job prospects, a grant for parents affected by judicial malpractice, and subsidized housing for single parents cleared of false allegations. In total, a sum that made my breath stop. Not millions, but life-changing for someone like me. Enough to restart everything. Enough for Zoe to have the life she deserved. Enough to make the suffering mean something. My chest tightened. I covered my mouth so I wouldn't wake Zoe with the sound of me breaking down. Tears poured, not the kind that burn, but the kind that finally heal. I whispered, "Thank you, God, thank you." It felt like the universe was returning what had been stolen. The next morning, a surprise at my door. The very next day, just after sunrise, I heard footsteps outside. I opened the door and nearly froze. It was Judge Marion. Not in robes, not in professional clothes, just simple jeans and a coat, holding a file and a brown paper bag. "I brought you breakfast," she said, "and something important to discuss." "Breakfast?" I echoed. She held up the bag. "Pancakes, the kind Zoe likes." My throat tightened. I wasn't used to kindness coming without a price. Zoe ran to the door, saw Marion, and her face lit up. "Judge Lady." Marion laughed softly. "Good morning, sweetheart." We sat at the small table while Zoe devoured pancakes like a warrior. Then Marion slid a folder across to me. "I waited until today to tell you this," she said, "because I didn't want anything to distract you before the verdict." I opened it, and my heart dropped. A job offer. Not just any job. A position with the city, created for men wrongly accused or blacklisted by corrupt employers. A role involving community outreach, fair employment advocacy, and support for vulnerable single parents. Stable income. Health insurance. A future. For me. I whispered. "For you," she said quietly. "Your voice is powerful, Daniel. People listened yesterday. You could help others who were in your shoes." I stayed at the paper, stunned. I had spent years being ignored, overlooked, belittled. And now, someone believed I had something worth sharing? It felt unreal. Too good. Too heavy. "I don't know what to say," I murmured. "Say you'll think about it," she replied. I nodded. "I'll think about it." Just when I thought the day couldn't hold more surprises. Just as Marion stood to leave, someone else walked up to my open doorway. A man in uniform. Not a police officer. A state investigator. "Mr. Daniel Cole?" he asked. "Yes." He removed his hat and said the words that made my blood run cold. "We need to speak with you immediately. It's about Leonard Baxter." I stiffened. Marion turned sharply. "What happened?" The investigator's jaw tightened. "Last night in holding, he said something. Something we can't ignore. And Mr. Cole, it concerns you." My pulse hammered. "Me? Again? What did he say?" I asked. The investigator looked between us, then delivered the twist. "He confessed that you weren't his only target." I blinked. "What?" "He said someone else was involved. Someone who wanted you destroyed even more than he did." My breath caught. "Who?" I demanded. The investigator hesitated, then answered. "Leonard claimed he wasn't the mastermind. He said someone else gave the orders." Just like that, the victory I celebrated last night suddenly felt like the opening move of a bigger fight. And deep in my gut, I knew. This wasn't over. Not even close. The moment the investigator said those words, "He wasn't the mastermind," something cold slid down my spine. Not fear, not shock. Something worse. Recognition. Because deep down, I always felt something didn't add up. Leonard was wicked, yes. Cruel, yes. Relentless, yes. But he was also sloppy, emotional, driven by ego more than strategy. And everything he did to destroy my life felt too calculated for someone like him. Someone else had been pulling strings. Someone who knew exactly where I was weakest. Someone who wanted me out of the way. The investigator speaks. He stepped into my living room as Zoe played quietly in the corner. "Mr. Cole," he began, "Leonard Baxter made multiple statements last night. At first, he was uncooperative. Then he made threats. But after a few hours, he said something unexpected." "Tell us," Judge Marion insisted. The investigator flipped open a small notebook. He said, "I wasn't the one who wanted him ruined. I was doing someone a favor. Someone who hates him more than I ever could." My heartbeat thumped painfully. Marion leaned forward. "Did he give a name?" The investigator hesitated. Not at first, but when he realized the charges weren't going away, he got desperate. He started bargaining. "A name," I repeated. "I need the name." The investigator nodded, then drew a deep breath. "Daniel, the person Leonard blamed is someone close to you." My stomach twisted. Close to me? Who? I had no friends left. No family except Zoe. No one who cared enough to hurt me. "Just say it," I whispered. He looked me straight in the eye. "Leonard said the mastermind was your late wife's brother, Marcus Hale." The past comes roaring back. I sat down slowly because my legs couldn't hold me anymore. Marcus, my brother-in-law, the man who hadn't spoken to me since my wife died. The man who blamed me for not protecting her. The man who told me I was never good enough for his sister. My vision blurred. He did this. I said in a hoarse whisper. The investigator nodded. "According to Leonard, Marcus paid him to target you, to get you fired, to file the anonymous complaints, to make sure you lost custody of Zoe so Marcus could petition the court to take her." My chest tightened painfully. No, Marcus wouldn't. But he would. He absolutely would. I remembered the last conversation we ever had. At the funeral, Marcus grabbing my collar, telling me I failed her, telling me I didn't deserve to raise their child, telling me he would fix everything. My throat closed. Marion stepped closer, voice soft but steady. "Daniel, he wanted Zoe. That was the goal." I felt sick. My whole world blurred around the edges. Zoe looked up from her toys, her innocent eyes watching me. She didn't understand. She didn't know her own uncle wanted to take her away forever. I clenched my fists. I wasn't letting that happen. Not then. Not now. Not ever. The danger gets worse. The investigator closed his notebook. "There's more." I looked up sharply. "More?" "Yes," he said grimly. "Marcus disappeared last night. He's not at his house. His phone is off. His car is gone." Gone. My heart pounded. "Why is that important?" Marion asked. The investigator's expression turned grave. "Because Leonard claims Marcus has documents, forged ones, prepared to prove that Daniel is an unfit parent. If he files them, it could reopen the custody case." My chest tightened again. "Can he still do that?" I asked. "Yes," the investigator said. "If he remains hidden long enough. If he stays out of reach. If he files the petition before we locate him." Everything started spinning. Marcus wasn't just the mastermind. He was still coming. Still planning. Still dangerous. Is there anything else? Marion asked, crossing her arms. Yes, the investigator said slowly. He said Marcus also hired someone else, someone who knows where Daniel lives. My breath vanished from my body. Zoe, my daughter, my only child. I moved without thinking, grabbed her, held her close, pressed her to my chest. No one was taking her from me. Not now. Not ever. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I blinked them away. Investigator, I said through clenched teeth, what do I need to do? He nodded with respect, like a soldier acknowledging another soldier. We want to move you and your daughter to protective housing until Marcus is found. I shook my head instantly. No, that's exactly what he wants, for me to disappear. I'm done hiding. Done being scared. Daniel, Marion began. No, I repeated firmly. If Marcus wants to come after me, then he'll find me standing, not running. Marion stepped closer. Then you won't stand alone, she said quietly. I looked at her. Her eyes weren't soft. They weren't sympathetic. They were fierce, determined, protective. I'm not letting him hurt you or Zoe, she said. If Marcus Hale wants a war, he just declared it with the wrong people. I swallowed hard. The investigator closed his book. We have a team searching for him now. But Daniel, you need to prepare yourself. Marcus is desperate, dangerous, and he's not coming to talk. I nodded slowly. I know. The final twist. As the investigator left, Marion put a gentle hand on my shoulder. We'll fight this, she said, together. Just as she turned to leave, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. My heart froze. I answered. No voice, just breathing. Then a low whisper. You should have stayed in your place. Daniel. My blood ran cold. Marcus. He wasn't gone. He wasn't hiding. He was watching me. Right now. The night was quiet. Too quiet. I had Zoe asleep in her room, blankets pulled up to her chin, teddy bear clutched tight. I sat in the living room, staring at the documents Marion had given me. Leonard was gone, Marcus was loose, and I knew from the investigator's warning, he was watching. Every sound made me jump. A creak in the floor, the wind rattling the window, even the hum of the fridge felt threatening. Then I heard it, a faint tap, tap, tap at the back door. My heart stopped. I froze, holding my breath. It couldn't be. Marcus? I crept to the door, hand trembling as I reached for the knob. My instinct screamed at me. I needed to protect Zoe at all costs. Through the peephole, I saw nothing, just shadows. Marcus? I whispered to myself. No answer, only silence. The intruder. Suddenly, the back window rattled violently. My blood ran cold. Someone was trying to get in. I ran to Zoe's room, grabbed her, and held her close. It's okay, baby. Daddy's here. Her eyes were wide with fear. Daddy, the man from before. Yes, baby. I'll protect you, I said, my voice trembling but firm. Then I heard footsteps coming down the hallway. Slow, deliberate, heavy. I didn't think. I acted. I grabbed a nearby lamp, swung the heavy base toward the intruder. The shadow froze. A deep grunt. Then a crash. I held Zoe tight and slowly peeked around the corner. There he was, Marcus Hale, my brother-in-law, the man who had tried to ruin my life from the moment my wife died. He looked furious. His eyes locked on me. You think you can hide? You think you can win? I planted myself in front of Zoe. I don't hide. I fight. The confrontation. He lunged at me. Reflexes I didn't know I had kicked in. I dodged, grabbed a chair, and slammed it between us. He stumbled, Enraged, "You ruined everything, Daniel," he shouted. "Everything." I barked. "You mean my life? My daughter? You destroyed nothing but your own soul, Marcus." He lunged again. I blocked, grabbed a baseball bat from the corner, the one Leonard had threatened me with during the Crane Yard showdown, and held it ready. "You don't understand," he said, voice low and dangerous. "I was supposed to protect her. My sister's child belongs with me. Not this. I felt fury rise like fire. "She belongs with me. And you? You belong behind bars." The fight was quick. A struggle, a push, a stumble, and then the sound of sirens. Judge Marion had arrived with the investigator and 2 officers. They had tracked Marcus after the call I ignored earlier. He froze. "You," he gasped. "Ow." "You underestimated me," I said. The officers moved fast. Marcus was cuffed, furious, yelling, but powerless. Aftermath, safe at last. The next morning, I sat in the kitchen, Zoe coloring at the table. She looked up, smiling. "Daddy, the bad man is gone." "Yes, baby," I said softly, lifting her into my lap. "He's gone for good." Tears filled my eyes. She hugged me tightly. "I knew you'd save me, Daddy." I whispered, "I'll always save you. Always." Judge Marion came in quietly, holding a plate of pancakes, her little tradition now. "You did everything right," she said softly. "You fought for your daughter, and you didn't let fear control you." I smiled. I had the best partner I could ask for. She nodded, eyes soft. "And Daniel, the city will finally see who you really are. Not the man Leonard and Marcus tried to make you, but the man you've always been." The reward. Weeks later, the compensation and new job came through. We moved into a safe, comfortable apartment. Zoe had her own room, filled with books and toys. I had stability, a purpose, and the knowledge that I could finally breathe. Leonard was serving his sentence. Marcus was behind bars for conspiracy, threats, and harassment. The nightmare that had haunted us for years was over. I even began speaking at local events, helping other single parents who faced injustice, sharing my story, giving hope. And through it all, Zoe's laughter filled our home. Her innocence, her joy, her love, that was my true victory. Final moment. One evening, I sat on the balcony, Zoe in my lap, Marion nearby with coffee in hand. I breathed deeply, the city lights glowing in the distance. "You know," Marion said, "you were always stronger than you thought." "I had to be," I said, "for her." She smiled. "And you're not alone anymore. You'll never have to fight alone." I kissed Zoe's head, holding her close. The wind carried a promise. No more threats, no more shadows. Only hope, only life, only us. And for the first time in years, I finally felt free.